Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we are doing something a little different again. No grammar pair, no confusing word. Today, we're having an honest conversation about something that every English learner needs to hear. How not to waste your time when learning English.
Yes, and I want to say this is not a lecture. This is a real conversation about the habits, the methods, and the mindsets that either speed up your learning or slow it down. Because the truth is that not all English study is created equal, and some things that feel like studying are actually keeping you stuck.
Right. You can spend 2 hours a day on English and make almost no progress. Or you can spend 30 focused minutes and make real, lasting progress. The difference is not the time. The difference is what you do with that time and how you think about learning.
So let us start with something that might be uncomfortable to hear. The number one way that learners waste time learning English is by studying passively instead of actively.
What does that mean exactly? Passive studying means consuming English without really engaging with it, reading a grammar explanation without trying to use the rule, watching a video about a grammar point and nodding along without ever producing a sentence, highlighting words in a textbook and feeling like you have learned something.
These things feel productive. They feel like studying. But if you never take what you are consuming and try to use it yourself, your brain doesn't really absorb it in a deep way.
Think of it this way. Imagine someone who wants to learn to swim. They read every book about swimming. They watch every video about technique. They know all the theory, but they never get in the water. Would you say they know how to swim?
Of course not. And English is exactly the same. You have to get in the water. You have to try. You have to produce language, not just consume it.
So, what does active learning look like? It means speaking even when you feel unprepared, writing sentences using new vocabulary, answering questions out loud even when you're studying alone, trying to recall words without looking at your notes before you check.
It means making the effort to use what you are learning rather than just taking it in. And yes, it is uncomfortable. It feels harder. Your brain resists it. But that resistance is exactly where the learning happens.
In psychology, this is called desirable difficulty. The things that are harder in the moment produce better learning in the long run. The things that feel easy and smooth often leave no real trace in your memory.
The second big time waster is collecting resources without using them. This is something almost every learner does. You find an amazing grammar book, then you find another one. You download an app, then another app. You bookmark 10 videos to watch later. You sign up for 3 email newsletters.
And then, you spend your study time looking for more resources instead of actually using the ones you have. This is sometimes called resource collecting syndrome, and it's extremely common.
The reason it happens is that finding a new resource feels like progress. It feels like you are getting ready to learn. But getting ready to learn is not the same as learning.
One good textbook used consistently for 3 months is worth more than 10 textbooks dipped into randomly. One app used daily for 20 minutes is worth more than 5 apps opened occasionally.
The depth of engagement with a resource matters far more than the variety of resources you have. Pick something good, use it, finish it, then pick the next thing.
The third time waster is studying things you already know because it feels comfortable.
Oh, this is such a real thing. Learners go back to elementary vocabulary when they already know those words. They review basic present tense structures they've known for years. They do exercises that are too easy because it feels good to get everything right.
Getting everything right feels productive. But if you're getting everything right, you're not learning anything new. You're just confirming what you already know.
The zone where real learning happens is called the zone of proximate development. It's slightly above your current level, challenging enough that you have to think, but not so hard that you understand nothing.
Slightly uncomfortable is the sweet spot. If you're breezing through exercises with 0 effort, you need to go up a level. If you understand absolutely nothing, you need to come down a level. Aim for the middle. Aim for where you have to struggle a little.
The fourth time waster is studying vocabulary by memorizing long lists.
The traditional method of taking a list of 20 words, reading their translations, and trying to memorize them is one of the least effective ways to build vocabulary. The brain does not retain words isolated presented without context.
Think about the words you know best in your native language. You didn't learn them from a list. You learned them from hearing them used in real situations, reading them in stories, seeing them connected to meaning and emotion.
Words stick when they have context, when they have a story around them, when you have seen them used in a sentence that made sense to you, when they triggered some kind of emotion or image.
So instead of memorizing lists, read sentences and short paragraphs that use new words. Watch videos where the words are used naturally. Write sentences of your own using the new vocabulary. The more connections you make between a new word and meaning and context, the stronger it sticks.
Spaced repetition apps like Anki are excellent for vocabulary because they show you words at the right intervals to keep them in your memory. But even these work best when the examples are sentences and contexts, not just isolated words.
The fifth time waster is waiting until you're ready to speak. This is one of the most painful and most common traps. Learners tell themselves, I'll start speaking when my vocabulary is bigger. I'll start practicing conversations when my grammar is better. I'll join a language exchange when I feel more confident.
But here's the difficult truth. You will never feel ready. Confidence in speaking doesn't come before speaking. It comes from speaking. There is no way to build it in advance by studying more grammar. Every time you speak English, even badly, even with mistakes, you are building something that no amount of silent study can build. You are building the neural connections between thinking in English and producing English in real time.
That connection only forms through practice. You can have perfect knowledge of grammar in your head and still freeze completely when someone speaks to you, because knowing and doing are different skills.
Speaking is a skill of its own that requires practice the same way playing an instrument requires practice. You cannot learn to play the piano by reading about it. You have to sit at the piano and play badly until you play less badly.
So start speaking now. Find a language partner. Use an app that lets you practice conversations. Talk to yourself in English. Describe what you are doing out loud. Summarize what you read or watched in English. Any speaking is better than no speaking.
The sixth time waster is studying for long, unbroken sessions instead of shorter, focused ones.
Many learners think that studying for 3 hours on Saturday is better than studying for 20 minutes every day. But the opposite is true for language learning.
Language learning requires regular, repeated exposure. Your brain needs to encounter the language frequently to keep building and strengthening those pathways. A long session once a week does not give the brain what it needs.
20 minutes every single day is dramatically more effective than 2 hours once a week. Consistency beats intensity. Regular contact with a language is what drives progress.
Even 5 minutes of focused English on a very busy day is better than 0. It keeps the connection alive. It keeps the brain in the habit of processing English.
And short, focused sessions allow for something called spaced repetition. You encounter something today, you encounter it again tomorrow, again in 3 days. The brain sees the repetition and treats it as important enough to keep in long-term memory.
Long single sessions without repetition often feel productive, but the information fades quickly because the brain did not receive the signals that said, "This is important, remember this."
The seventh time waster is not reviewing what you learn.
You study something today, you feel like you understood it, you move on to the next thing tomorrow, and a week later when you encounter the first thing again, you have forgotten it.
This is called the forgetting curve. Without review, the brain releases information it considers unused. The way to fight the forgetting curve is to review what you have learned at regular intervals.
Review does not mean reading your notes again. That is passive. Review means trying to recall what you learned, closing the book and asking yourself, what do I remember about this? Testing yourself, using the information.
Active recall is the most powerful review technique there is. Quiz yourself, cover the answer, and try to produce it from memory. Use flashcards. Explain what you learned out loud as if you were teaching it to someone.
The act of trying to remember something, even when it is difficult, is itself a powerful learning event. It strengthens the memory trace far more than simply reading the material again.
Now, let me ask you something. What do you think is the single most important piece of advice from everything we have talked about today?
I think it is this. Make your study time about production, not just consumption. Read less and write more. Listen less and speak more. Recognize that the uncomfortable active effort is where the real learning lives.
I would add one thing to that. Consistency. Show up for your English every day, even briefly, even imperfectly, even on the days when you do not feel like it, especially on those days.
Because learning a language is a long journey, and the learners who succeed are not always the most talented. They are the ones who kept showing up.
Now, I want to close with a question that I think every learner should ask themselves honestly, not to feel guilty, but to get clear.
Go ahead.
When you sit down to study English, are you doing things that challenge you or things that comfort you? Are you practicing the skills that feel hard or the skills that feel easy? Are you spending your time learning new things or reviewing things you already know well?
These are honest questions, and the answers will tell you whether your study time is moving you forward or just making you feel busy.
There is nothing wrong with comfort and enjoyment in language learning. Watching films you love in English, listening to music you enjoy, reading stories that interest you. These are all valuable.
But they need to be balanced with the uncomfortable active work, the speaking practice that feels scary, the writing that exposes your grammar gaps, the listening to fast, natural speech that you only half understand.
That combination of enjoyable input and challenging output is what creates real progress over time.
Your time is precious. Your effort is precious. Do not spend it on things that make you feel productive without actually moving you forward.
Spend it on things that challenge you slightly, that make you think, that push you to produce language, not just consume it, and that you do consistently day after day.
That's the recipe. Challenge, production, consistency. Those three things together will take your English further than any app, any textbook, or any course ever could on its own.
And remember, you're already doing something right just by being here and being intentional about your learning. That intention is the foundation of everything.
Keep going. Keep choosing challenge over comfort when it matters, and keep showing up for yourself every day.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We'll see you in the next episode.